guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making a caged golf ball. Well, I'm sure that you've seen these before and they're really nothing new, but I thought that it might be fun to do one on the show for those of you that have not seen it, or maybe those of you who are wondering how it was done. And it's kind of a cool little item, and if you have golfers on your gift list, whether it be for birthdays or for Christmas, this could be a fun little project that you could whip off a few of them in an afternoon and then give them to gifts or as gifts to your golfing friends. So it's all going to start off with choosing the stock. And what we want for the stock, it can pretty much be anything you want, but I would suggest a softer wood, whether it be a pine or a poplar or that sort of thing. I wouldn't go a super hardwood. It would really change the way that the wood behaves for this project. So I'm going to go with poplar, and we're going to start off with some 8/4 inch pieces. Well, I had this chunk up in the rack, and I'm not even really sure what project it was from. Maybe from a bandsaw box or something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, it's usable for other projects. And what we're going to need for this particular one is a piece that is 1 3/4 of an inch by 1 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches long. And I think that this section here is going to serve perfectly for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take it over to the table saw and dimension it. Now this particular piece of stock does not have a perfect edge, so what I'm doing here is cleaning it up and getting a straight edge by using the gripper against the fence as opposed to the stock. That will give me the one perfectly square and flat edge that I can then place against the side of the fence. From there I can just carry on, and we want to rip this piece now into a dimension of 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So you want to make sure while ripping this that your blade is square. So from here, get rid of that ripping blade and install a crosscut blade. Once again, checking it for square, knowing that using the proper blade for the proper purpose is going to go a long way to helping out your woodworking. Square off the one edge, and then we're going to dimension this piece to make sure that each one is 5 inches long. So for my project in this particular case, I'm going to end up getting 2 cages for the golf balls. Well, now that we have our block, we need to mark our center line. So half of 1 3/4 is 7/8. But you never know if you're right on the money for this, so I'm going to measure it on both sides. Because this is not one of these fine woodworking projects, I'm not too concerned if it was a little bit out. And you can see here by that double line that yes, indeed, it is actually a little off from 1 3/4. So we're going to mark the center line here on 2 adjacent sides, and what we need to do from that point is mark a mark from the end, and that mark from the end is where the holes of our cage are going to be. So we're going to be using a 1 1/4 inch Forstner bit. So I think I'd like to have 3/4 of an inch on either side for our kind of our wood, our base sort of thing. So we only need to mark one side of that because we're going to be using some depth stops and the fence of the drill press table. So what I've done is I've set up a stop here on the one side that will allow me to drill this hole and get it to the edge where I want it. It's actually going to be a little bit over that 3/4 line. And then all you need to do is spin your piece around, because I have the fence set for that same hole, and line it up and then get a second stop in there just like that. And once you get that second stop in place, give it a good clamp And now we are set with depth stops on both sides of our fence for both of our ends of our cage. We have our fence set so that we're drilling in the center, and I don't want to drill all the way through because I don't want that tear out on the back end. So I have the depth stop set at about, well, just over halfway through. So now I'm just going to drill all of our holes, and I'm going to drill all the way across to kind of bore it out using the Forstner bit. And once you get that all hogged out on the one side, flip it over, put the same side against the fence, and repeat the process to make it a through hole. And now that you have that all the way through, rotate your piece 90 degrees and repeat the process on your other center line. So we're going to take this over to the oscillating sander and clean it up. But one thing I'd like to point out is on the second set of holes, I didn't kind of bore it out as thoroughly as I did on this side because there just wasn't enough support. So I only just did the 4 holes just to get the majority of the material out of the way, and I'll do the rest at the oscillating drum sander. So let's take it over to that sander and clean up the interior of all of these holes that we've just done. Now that you have that done and the holes are all evened out, we're just going to give, there's a little bit of burring there on the inner corners. We're just going to give that a little hand sanding just to take away the burrs. Don't go too crazy on it because when we hit the next step, which is putting the golf ball inside, there's going to be quite a bit of raised grain that happens. So you don't want to go too crazy on the sanding. But we do just want to take those, you can see the burring here where the sander has caused a little bit of a burr on the edge. I'm okay with that. But just a little light sanding to take away that burring. And then what we need is a pot of boiled water. Well, once again, Kenny has gone into the kitchen and stolen a couple items that we need for a project. And that would be a pot that is big enough to hold your cage and a kettle. So we're going to start the kettle boiling. We need some boiling water for this. And you can place your cage in the bottom of your pot. Now it's wood, it's going to float because we're going to submerge this. So what we need is something to weigh it down. So I have another scrap block of wood here that I'm going to place on our cage, and then I'll put a weight on top to hold that down once our kettle boils. Now that your kettle is boiled, you want to fill it up in here enough to cover up your cage. Now I'm just going to use this 2.5 pound sledge to weigh it down. Maybe a little overkill, but we'll see how it goes. So you just want to pour your water in and have it completely covered. There we go. That should be just fine, just like that. I'll just show you what we have here inside the pot. Now you can see that we have quite a bit of activity that's happening in here around the end grain of our poplar cage. And what that is it's basically all the air escaping out of that cage, and the water is swelling the fibers and making this thing pliable. So I'm not sure how long to let this sit. I'm going to let it sit in there for 15 minutes. So let's set a timer and we'll see how it goes after 15 minutes. Our 15 minutes is up and it's time to release our little creation here, I guess you'd call it, out of our water bath. Just be careful because everything is still hot. So I've got just a piece of dowel here to lift it out. And all you want to do is lay it on the bench, get your golf ball, and in the middle area where it should be the most flexible, give that golf ball a push in, just like that. Now it's a little unnerving because you can hear it creaking and cracking, but that's okay. You soak that wood and now that's in there. So the process here now is to sit this aside and let the water come out of your block of wood. Now that could take a few days. So put it aside in your shop and leave it for at least, I don't know, let's say a week. Work on something else, guys. You don't have to work on this same project. So I'm going to sit this aside and let it dry out, and then we're going to come back and deal with the final details of it. Well, on this show, we're all about versatility, aren't we? And changing things up and doing things a little differently. And when the initial cage was made using the drill press to hog out all of that excess material in the middle, there's quite a few times that Forstner bit catches. So you could really use an extra stop block there to hold it in place or clamp it to the fence. But then I started thinking, why am I bothering with that anyway? So I tried a different method, and I'll present that to you here, where the drilling that is done initially at the holes at the end, it's the exact same process. You drill through halfway using stop blocks and your fence to keep everything aligned, and then you flip it over and drill halfway through again, meeting in the middle to get those through holes, being sure that the side that you initially put against the fence, that you keep it there for the second set of holes so that everything lines up. Now, once you get those 4 holes done, you've got that center core. And what I did was I installed a number 7 reverse tooth PGT blade into the scroll saw. And for those of you who don't know what PGT is, it's precision ground tooth. It's a type of grinding that a certain manufacturer does that really gives a clean edge when it cuts. But anyway, what I did is I treated the rest of the cage as an interior cut on the scroll saw. And I cut just outside of those lines to get that entire center core removed. Once that center core was removed, you know, cutting it on both sides, it was the exact same process as what we did the first time. Then we took it over to the oscillating drum sander and cleaned it all up. The thing here is that with the scroll saw, there's no grabbing of the Forstner bit. There is no extra stop blocks there. There's no more adjustments. It's a much faster process. And truth be told, it's the process that I preferred when I tried the 2 of them out. So it's up to you. You can try whichever one you want. If you don't have a scroll saw, do the drill press, but I would suggest clamping it. Just don't clamp it too tight. You don't want to break those bars. There you go. There's a second method of it. And now, you know what? Hopefully all the water is out of our cage now and we can carry on. Well, here we are the next day, and although I said to let it sit around for a week, I had it in the shop overnight with a dehumidifier running. I didn't run the dehumidifier specifically for this project. I always run a dehumidifier at night to keep the moisture content down in my shop. But when I checked the piece this morning, it's perfect. So I guess the dehumidifier did its job, and we can carry on with the project by doing the sanding on it. Now, you can sand the center again as far as those end curves, as long as you get that ball out of the way and hold it up out of the way in order to use the spindle sander, and so that way the spindle sander does not damage the golf ball. So give the thing a complete sanding all around, and at that point in time, the project is pretty much done other than the finish. Now, if you want to apply a finish, all you really need to do is you can mask out that golf ball using either some painter's tape, or you can use cellophane on it where you can get it in around the ball, then just sort of maybe twist the ends or something, almost like a candy wrapper sort of thing. That would work as well. You can spray finish, you can brush it on, you can paint it, or you can do like I'm going to do and just leave it bare wood. And there you have it. A golf ball in a cage, or a caged golf ball. Guys, you might be thinking, what is the purpose of this project? It doesn't really have a purpose, and in some cases, your projects don't necessarily need a purpose. There's nothing wrong with just doing something for the fun of doing it and making a little novelty gift for somebody who might be a golfer who is on your gift list. What a great stocking stuffer, let's say, like for Christmas, or even for a little birthday gift for a family member or a friend. It's one of those things that you look at it, and unless you know the process and unless you realize how it was done, you don't really realize how simple it is, and it's puzzling, and you look at it and you think, how the heck can that ball fit in there? That is physically impossible. But no, it isn't, and as you've seen here on today's show, it's actually quite simple. Now, while you're putting that golf ball into that cage, it can be a little nerve-wracking. You will hear it creaking and cracking, and for the most part, that is just the wet wood squeaking up against the golf ball. The fibers are soft enough and they are wet enough that they will get out of the way of the golf ball. So don't be afraid to give that a little push. Now, guys, also, if you should break the cage while putting the golf ball in, who cares? Don't worry about it. Bigger things in life to be upset about than one little failed project. Cut another cage, soak it for maybe a little longer. Maybe the species might need a little extra water, might need a little extra soaking. Soak it for half an hour instead of the 15 minutes and try it again. That's the good thing about being in the shop, is continuing to learn as you move forward with projects. And this little project here is just another little learning step to show you that when it comes to working in your shop and working with wood, there's nothing that you can't do. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in this week, and I hope you're going to join me again next week for yet another woodworking video.